All right, we're back for week 2 of the DJs podcast with Dana and Josh. So we're going to go through week 2 lines, guess them, see who's closer, see who wins the week. As we're going through, we'll kind of recap what happened last week, and we'll go from there. So let's start with the first game of the week, Thursday night, which is tonight as we're taping this on a beautiful 70-degree high day in north central Illinois. So the first game is tonight, Vikings at the Eagles. So this is actually a rematch from last year. I think it was a Monday night game in which the Eagles obliterated the Vikings in Philadelphia. I'm not really sure how the Vikings have to go to Philadelphia 2 years in a row, but that's what's on the schedule. So we got Vikings at the Eagles. So my guess on this one was Eagles minus 10.5. What do you got, Josh?
I have Eagles minus 8.
All right, so let's... Eagles minus 8, and the current line is Eagles 6. There's a few 6.5s. It opened at 7.5. 6 is the consensus, we'll call it. So Josh is going to get that one.
That seems low.
Yeah, I just don't. I don't know. As a Vikings fan, I don't see them winning that game. I don't really see them keeping it that close. But the Eagles did struggle on offense a little bit last week. Their points came off turnovers, really, most of them. I don't know. I don't know what to say there. I don't really understand why that's less than a touchdown, but Vegas usually knows.
That has to be a reaction to their performance against the Patriots. But the Vikings didn't impress either. That's a weird one because that's saying like because you spot on the field goal because they're at home, so that's like they're only 3 points better.
Yeah. So another thing I think I spoke about it a little bit last week is the overreaction after week 1 to week 2. So the Eagles won in week 1, the Vikings lost, right? So most people are going to say, "Oh, the Vikings suck. They lost to the Bucs at home." Yeah. Oh, the Eagles beat the Patriots on the road. That's a pretty good win. So then, you gravitate towards, the Eagles are really good. The Vikings kind of stink. But a lot of times those opinions are overreaction. So I don't know. I guess it's maybe Vegas is saying, let's put it a little bit lower. So it opened at 7.5 and it's down to 6. So obviously
strange. Is there an injury we don't know about?
People like the Vikings here. Well, Gainwell's out for the Eagles.
Yeah.
But it's not like he's a, top tier running back or anything like that. So I wouldn't expect that to affect the line a lot.
Yeah. That's a strange one.
So, yeah, I mean, I was way off. I was off by 4.5 points. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, see tonight.
All right, so let's go on to the Ravens and the Bengals. So the Ravens at the Bengals. I have Bengals by a field goal.
Yeah, and I have Ravens minus 4.
All right, so Josh had Ravens minus 4. And the actual line on this one is Bengals by 3.5. So I was off by a half point there.
The whole wrong way.
So I'm going to get that one. So we each have 1 at this point. So this is another one of those, right? The Bengals couldn't even score a touchdown after Burrow became the highest paid player.
Yeah.
Jamar Chase is calling the Browns a bunch of elves, and then he lost to a bunch of elves.
Yeah.
Which I had to look up. Apparently their mascot is actually an elf. A lot of people maybe knew that. I didn't know that, but that's what he was talking about there.
Oh, the old-timey Browns mascot? Yeah.
Must be. Yeah. So here's another one, right? The Ravens cover against the Texans week 1. The Bengals like I said, can't even score a touchdown, get blown out by
Yeah.
the Browns. Burrow doesn't even finish the game because they're so far behind. And what does Vegas say? Well, they're basically saying these two teams are pretty equal. The Bengals are favored by 3.5. They're even giving the Bengals an extra half point. So, like I said, I think people overreact to this and they go, oh yeah, the Ravens blew out the Texans. Granted, the Texans probably aren't very good, but yeah, let's go Ravens here. And I just don't think that's the right side. I think the Bengals are gonna wake up and figure it out. I think the Bengals is the right side on that one.
Yeah, I don't know. I think very strongly reacting to what happened in week 1, and I think I have a John Harbaugh fetish. So I don't know. Just something about the Ravens. I know they were bad last year, but there's all that contract stuff. Their defense isn't supposed to be very good. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out.
All right, so let's move on to the next one here. Seahawks at the Lions. Again, this is an 0-1 versus a 1-0. You got the Seahawks who got smashed by the Rams, who Cooper Kupp is out, and they're just thin. I mean, half the receivers I'd never heard of before. Puka Nakua got like 16 targets. And then you got the Lions, who, of course, beat the Chiefs at Arrowhead. So, right? Everyone's saying, oh, yeah, the Lions, they just beat the defending champs. Like, they're really good. The Seahawks are terrible. They lost at home to a Rams team where you don't even know half the players. Half. 90% of the players. So, Seahawks at Lions. I have Lions -8. That was my guess.
I have the Lions -7.
Josh has Lions -7.
Yeah.
And it is Lions. So it opened at 6, and it is. We got some 4.5s and some 5s. Yeah. We'll call it 5. 4.5 or 5.
I think that's probably right. That feels. The Lions look terrible for like the second and third quarter. That game against the Chiefs, they just didn't look very good. So I don't know. This is another kind of a weird game. So I don't know how good either of these teams are, and I think a lot of people like the Seahawks coming into the season. It just laid an egg.
Yeah, I think this is a key spot for letdown for the Lions.
Yeah.
And the Seahawks are just going to wake up.
Yeah.
But it's also possible that the Seahawks just aren't very good.
Yeah, could be.
You never really know. But, I mean, this would be kind of my pick of the week. Yeah. Seahawks with the points. I think the Lions are going to be on a downer. I mean, you can't tell me those guys didn't go out and whoop it up a little bit after they beat the Chiefs at Arrowhead on opening night. I just think they're going to be on a downer coming into this game. And I think the Seahawks are going to be motivated, like what happened, and they're going to pay attention to the details. They're going to get things right. I don't know. That's just me. So I think it makes sense. Like I said, Lions -8, it's down to 5. I think that makes sense. I think
I do too.
A lot of people who know what they're doing think the Seahawks are going to rebound here, but we'll see. You never really know in the NFL. Sometimes Zach Wilson can come in and just propel the Jets to victory over Josh Allen's Bills.
In spite of himself? And in spite of the entire team hating him?
when no one expected it. Okay, let's move on. Colts at the Texans. I have this as 2 not-so-good teams, and I just made it a pick 'em. I said, even up. Yeah. Pick the winner.
I've got Colts -3 because I like their quarterback.
All right. Josh has Colts -3. And the line is... So it opened at Texans -2, and now it flipped over to Colts -1. So I am very slightly closer on that one. So I'm going to get that one. Josh got the last one, so we're tied up at 2. So Richardson, I didn't watch much of this game at all, the Colts-Jaguars game. So Richardson looked pretty good running the ball. I'm not really sure passing the ball, but obviously he must have played decent because I think they were ahead 21-17, and then the Jags scored a couple second-half touchdowns and were up 10. So I think he
didn't look terrible.
Better than Stroud.
Yeah.
I don't know. Again, these teams, maybe the Colts is a little bit better team overall, maybe a little bit better quarterback, so they're favored by 1.
I just feel like the Texans are going to be one of the worst teams in the league this year.
Yeah, that's very possible.
I mean, they both could be, right? Like, the Colts were not great last year. Both teams lost their coach. New coaches this year, new quarterbacks, but yeah. I think Richardson has a spark.
The other thing here, so Richardson got hurt late in the fourth quarter when they were trying to punch it in.
Yeah.
I think he's fine. I don't think the injury is going to affect his status for this week. But if you remember, the Jags were -5, so they're up 10, right? So the Colts get it down to like the 1 or the 2 on like second down. Richardson tries to punch it in, gets smashed, and gets hurt. So Gardner Minshew's in there.
Love Gardner Minshew.
I forget if Minshew was in there on 2nd and goal from the 1 or 3rd and goal from the 1. Anyway, I think they tried a running play, got stuffed, and then Minshew rolled out and like ran back to the 50-yard line. I'm exaggerating there, but he rolls out and just kind of flips one into the end zone, and it's incomplete. So a couple things there. The Colts could have kicked a field goal knowing that they needed another score, but they didn't, right? So they decided to go for it. So people with Jags -5 are probably like, 2nd and goal from the 1, like they're going to get this and that's going to be a cover. Well, they go for it and then they still don't get it. So kind of an interesting finish in the Colts-Jaguars game for sure. All right, so it's tied 2-2. Let's move on. Bears at the Bucks. Josh's Bears.
Oh, man, they're not my Bears.
At not my Bucks, because the Bucks beat my Vikings last week. So Bears at the Bucks. The Bears looked pretty awful. The Bucks looked okay. So I guess Bucks
won a game.
Bucks -5.5. I gave them the nod.
That's exactly what I have.
All right, so Josh has Bucks -5.5 as well. So obviously no one's going to get that one. And it is Bucks 2.5.
Wow.
Let's see. So it opened at 2.5, and that's where it is.
I don't see how anybody will watch that Bears game or any of the preseason or any performance of this team over the last 18 months and I feel like any team should be spotted at least 5 points.
Yeah.
Or they should be spotted 5 points every game. It's just, they're not good. That offense is abysmal.
So if we go back to the home team giving 3 points if the teams are pretty equal. So Vegas is saying the Bears are better than the Bucks, which before last week you'd say, okay, that's fair. After last week, you're scratching your head like, how many more swing passes can Justin Fields throw for -3 yards and beat another NFL football team? I don't know. They obviously know something, right? Like,
I just don't think they don't like I think they don't like the Bucs. I think that's what this is saying. I mean, because they clearly don't like the Bears because they're not giving them the full field goal. It's only 2.5, so it's slightly under the home field. And I heard a weird stat. I think last week, the home teams only won like 4 or 5 games. Like the road teams won like 11 games, I think, last week.
I didn't even think about that. I mean,
that's what I heard. I was listening to Bill Simmons. And I think that was something he said. And I was like flabbergasted that home field means that little right now.
Well, you know what? Our millions of viewers and listeners, they will fact check that. And
that's
they will let us know.
They're going to lie in the comments, sure. Yeah. They're going to hold me to task if I'm wrong. But I'm pretty sure that's a true statement.
And to that point, so I talked about the comments. So there was a comment about, oh, there's, no respect for the Lions, after the fact when they beat the Chiefs. So what we're doing with this is we're guessing what the line's going to be. We're not predicting the outcome of the game, right? So it's kind of two very different things. And if you're not really thinking about it that hard, you can get those confused. So I mean, I wasn't that surprised that the Lions kept it close and ended up winning. I'm just, we're guessing the lines. We're not predicting the outcome.
But also, there's really no respect for the Lions, to be frank. I mean, it's a franchise that won one playoff game in 60 years. That's not, I'm sorry. That is what it is.
Yeah, that's fair.
That speaks for itself. So maybe they'll turn it around this year and we can all fall in love with the Lions.
Yeah, we'll see. Like I said, I mean, if they can handle the Seahawks at home and kind of,
they'll be 2-0.
Come, off an emotional win and just kind of take care of business. Like, I don't think anyone's pretending like the Seahawks were going to be better than the Lions this year. So, I mean, they should take care of business.
Can you imagine what Thanksgiving's going to be like if, like, the Lions go into that game, like, with a winning record? Like, you remember the last time, like, you gave a crap about a Lions, like, Thanksgiving game and didn't immediately write it off as a loss? That would make Thanksgiving very interesting this year.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Another thing I saw, was it Gardner Johnson is he a D-back for the Lions? He was wearing a blue ski mask, and he wants all the fans to wear a blue ski mask to the game because
like a blue out or something?
They're the villains, and it embraces the culture of the Lions, which, I mean, yeah, they're trying to be the most physical team, and they're kind of being,
they're going to
the
bite your
dogs.
kneecaps. That's right.
So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see if
we'll see, man. Maybe this is America's team right now. Detroit Lions.
I mean, I don't know. It's like COVID all over again. Everyone's going to be wearing a mask, except it's going to be a blue ski mask instead of a N95 or whatever. All right, let's move on. Chiefs at the Jaguars. So Kelsey was still questionable the last I looked.
I thought he was going to play. Okay.
But I haven't looked for, I don't know, maybe 24 hours or so.
Yeah.
So Chiefs at the Jaguars, I mean, these are probably definitely two of the top 10 teams in the NFL, I would say.
Yeah.
So I have Chiefs at the Jaguars. I have the Chiefs favored by 2.5.
I've got them favored by 5. I got Chiefs -5.
All right. Josh has Chiefs -5, and it did open at 2.5. It's up to 3.5. So people like the Chiefs, apparently.
They do. Not as much as me.
What did you say?
I had 5.5.
5 or 5.5? I had 5.
-5.
Chiefs -5. So I'm off by a point. Josh is off by 1.5. That was pretty close. So I'm going to get that one.
Yeah.
Okay. So we talked a little bit about the Lions and Chiefs last week.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Chris Jones was holding out, right? That's probably right. So he signed a 1-year deal.
Yes, he did.
But
yes,
he was holding out. They showed him in the stands. It was really awkward. I said to Josh, we actually watched this game together. I said, do you think he had to pay for his own ticket, or do you think they gave him a ticket? That was interesting. Anyway, so he's going to be playing. So he was out. Probably you could say the Chiefs' top defensive player. And then obviously their top offensive player is Mahomes. But after that, it's
Kelsey.
No question, it's Kelsey. So he's out too, right? So that's part of it. Like, if they have all their weapons, I think that's a little bit different game last Thursday. And then on top of it, like if you're making excuses for the Chiefs, I mean, you have Kadarius Stony Hands, like just can't catch a ball. I mean, Mahomes is just throwing it, like away from the zone, maybe not perfect passes exactly in the breadbasket, but those passes should have been caught. I think the Chiefs had like 4 or 5 pretty bad drops for NFL wide receivers. So I don't know if they had the Crisco instead of the Stickum that the receivers were putting their gloves in, or what happened there. But I mean, it was terrible. Like if they catch a couple of those, I mean, I think it's a different outcome. So Chiefs 3.5. I don't know what to think of that game. Like you either think the Chiefs are going to rebound. They got their guys back, and they're kind of pissed off after week 1, and they're going to roll. But the Jags are pretty consistent. Like, Lawrence is playing better. They have a pretty good defense. I don't really know what to think there. I really think it's going to be a pretty close game.
It'd be interesting to see, because I think you've got, with Lawrence, you saw the progression you wanted to see last year. Obviously, they made the playoffs. They won that division sort of coming from behind, and they won last week. And so if you think about what everybody wanted Trevor Lawrence to be since he won that title as a freshman, it's like you feel like he's coming on. So then that's what makes this game so interesting is you've got a quarterback with the Jaguars that could be, nobody's comparable to Mahomes right now, but sort of on that trajectory. And I think that's what makes this a really exciting game. And I think Chiefs fans, you don't need to worry about Kadarius Toney, because I feel like right before the trade deadline, Ryan Poles from the Bears is going to make a trade for that guy. He's got exactly the offensive skill set that the Bears love, which is complete, ineffectual, and no ability to catch the ball. So I think, don't worry, he'll be gone soon. He'll be wearing a Bears jersey before the end of the season.
So those criteria are like drafted high.
Yeah.
Definitely isn't going to realize their potential and just does like the little things wrong.
Yeah, definitely the little things wrong, I think, is key. Stonehands is a good one. Bears don't like to run much of an offense anyway. So, I mean, there's not going to be much to learn. Very little learning curve. Yeah.
I just think about Claypool. The one play I remember, the one play I remember them running was like a bubble screen to Claypool, and like he wasn't going to go anywhere, and I think he even dropped it. I don't. It might have gotten tipped, but anyway, it was just like
bad. That was the second round, the first pick of the second round they gave up for him, and then I read something stupid, and it's like all this criticism of Claypool from last Sunday, like he wasn't making his assignments, he wasn't where he needed to be, he was confused, this and that, and he wasn't blocking. That was it. The edge blocking wasn't there, and I was like, oh, well, that's it. That's where the Bears sucked. One guy missed his assignment, and that was the whole offensive line crumbled. And then for a brief moment, I was like, oh, God, okay, they found the answer. It's going to be great on Sunday. I quickly came back to earth.
Yeah. So, Josh, it might not even turn the Bears game on this week. I think
I mean, that's over-under on how long I turn it off is probably better. I'd set that at about 10 minutes.
All right.
I'm going to go with the under.
There you go. There's another line for you. Over under 10 minutes on Josh watching his Bears play this week.
Yeah. Go with the under.
All right, let's move on. Packers at the Falcons. I have the Falcons -2. That was my guess. What do you got?
I got Packers -4.
Packers -4.
Yeah.
I didn't really know where to go with this. I figured either team could be favored by a little bit. Let's see, what is it at here? It opened at Packers -1. And it is pretty steady at Packers -1. So we actually are both off by the same amount. Yeah. So interesting. All right, so that's another tie. Okay, so we talked about the Bears. The Packers looked fine. I don't know that. Well, I quit watching it after it was a blowout, but
it's not much of a test.
I don't know that Jordan Love looked spectacular. I think the Bears bailed him out by going for it on 4th and 1 and not getting it in their own territory. He gave Love a short field, all the confidence in the world to, have a little short drive and get his feet wet. I still don't, like some people think he's going to be really good. I just don't think we know yet because that game was kind of.
It's against the Bears, doesn't count.
Yeah. Every game against the Bears just doesn't count.
I mean, they've lost. It's that 8 straight losses to the Packers right now. So that's like two a year. So that's 4 years. They haven't beaten the Bears. COVID wasn't a thing the last time the Bears beat the Packers. Nobody knew what COVID was. Right? It's 2019.
That's interesting. Yeah. I didn't even think about that. But
yeah,
I mean, it makes sense.
So,
and then the Falcons, what was it? Who did the Falcons play? The Panthers, right?
Yeah, they won.
So they beat them by, I think it was 24-10.
Pretty handily, yeah.
I didn't watch a single second of that game. I think I remember saying it felt like those teams were pretty equal, but I think the Falcons maybe were -3.5 last week. And they obviously took care of business. So I think my perception of the Falcons is that I think they're worse than Vegas thinks they are. So we'll see how that plays out. But they took care of business. So you got Packers -1. Basically a coin flip on that one, whoever you like better. Not really sure. I don't have a strong opinion on that game. All right, let's move on. Raiders at the Bills. So the Raiders squeaked out a win at the Broncos. I think I saw Garoppolo is questionable with an ankle injury, but I think that's just like, we're resting him just because he's coming off a foot injury or whatever. So you got the Raiders flying across the country. Like, is that flight? That flight has to be about the longest flight you can get in the contiguous U.S.
Unless they were, they're not starting in L.A., so Raiders to Buffalo. Las Vegas Raiders.
Oh, true. Yeah, so it's a little bit shorter than it would have been.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's
still
a long,
very long flight.
What is that? Like, I don't even know.
Probably 5 hours.
5 or 6 hour
4.5
flight.
hours.
Anyway, you're crossing a couple time zones. The Bills, I don't know. Josh Allen looked terrible.
He did.
So I don't know if he rebounds here or not. But anyway, I have the Bills by 7.5.
And I have the Bills by 7.
Josh has Bills by 7. I have 7.5. So we're both very close to each other on that one. It opened at 9 and it has gone up.
Oh, wow.
Most places have it at 9.5.
Wow.
So
I'm going to get it.
I snuck that one out. This is another situation. The Raiders kind of stole a game. The Bills are probably pissed off, a little frustrated, obviously, when Zach Wilson came from 10 points down. And by Zach Wilson, I mean the Jets defense played out of their minds. So, the Bills are kind of pissed off. And Vegas thinks they're going to roll them by almost double digits. So I don't know. I don't know what to think here. I mean, the Raiders seem like they just played a consistent game and waited for the Broncos to make a mistake. I don't know. So the line is Bills 9.5. I don't have a strong opinion on that. Moving on, we got Chargers at the Titans. So I have the Titans by 1.5 points. What do you got?
I've got them by the field goal. I got
Titans by 3?
Yeah, I got them -3.
All right. So we both have the Titans slightly favored, and it is Chargers by 3. It opened at 3, and it's 3 across the board.
Chargers by 3?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I'll be honest, I don't know that I really understand that. Maybe people were watching that Dolphins-Chargers game and they're like, oh, both these teams are so good. They scored 30 points apiece. Like,
I feel like that. People like the Chargers. People love Josh Herbert. They love Josh Herbert. They love to love Josh Herbert.
Herbert. His first name's
Or
not Josh.
Justin.
Justin.
My first name's Josh.
Yeah.
They
That's
love
it.
Justin Herbert. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
They love him.
And the Titans might be the least, interesting team to watch. They just kind of play good defense. They run the ball.
Well-coached team.
So maybe they're just not, like, they don't really pass the eye test. I don't know what. Here's another one I got. Obviously, we were both off by quite a bit on this. I'm going to get it, but I don't know. I don't really understand that. I feel like the Titans should win at home.
Oh, yeah.
After, I think they lost, they lose by 1 point last week at the Saints. Kind of a
It's
back
so
and
good,
forth
too.
game.
This is not a team that has a new coach or a new quarterback, although maybe some people think they should, but it's like there's a lot of consistency there. This is like a proven team.
Right.
With a proven coach. I don't know. It's a weird one.
It almost seems like there's an injury or something that.
Yeah. I
don't
think
know.
people want the Lions to be done, I think people want the Titans to be done, and I think they want the Chargers to ascend, but...
All right, so after 7 games, I'm up 5-2, and we have 2 ties. So let's move on to the next one. We got the 49ers at the Rams. I have the 49ers by a touchdown. What do you got?
I have the Niners.
I have the Niners -2.5.
Niners minus 2.5. So let's see what we got here. So it did open at 7, but it's up to
Damn, I really
8.
got this one wrong.
So it went up to 8. So we'll call it 49ers minus 8. So I'm gonna get that one.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, yeah, the Rams beat the Seahawks on the road, but the Niners are just nasty up and down the offense and defense.
Yeah.
If Brock Purdy's going to be the most consistent quarterback, which apparently he's proven he's going to be, he's like the first rookie to win his first 6 starts or something like that. I don't know. I mean, the 49ers are just nasty. Like, they're going to be favored against almost every team, I think, as long as they're playing the way they are and as long as they stay healthy.
Hasn't he never beaten McVay? I don't think Shanahan has ever beaten McVay as the Niners head coach.
That's one to look up. I wouldn't have guessed that.
I think that's
but
true, because that's the whole thing is McVay used to work for Shanahan. He comes from that coaching tree. I don't think Shanahan's ever beaten him while they've been head coaches in that division.
Now that's somebody I know is looking that up for us.
Yes,
So
that's true. But I believe that's a fact.
All right.
Or if it's not, if they have, the record skews heavily towards McVay. But yeah, I think that's true.
All right. Well, that'll be
At least
interesting.
I'm using that to justify why I picked what I picked. I didn't heavily favor the Niners because they did look quite good last week.
Yeah. So that's a tough one too. I don't really know what to think, but the Niners by 8. I think it's a fair line. The Niners are really good. The Rams won last week, but I don't know how much consistency you're going to get there.
I think everybody thinks the Rams are going to stumble this year.
Right. All right. Let's move on. Speaking of stumbling, the Giants stumbled
The
a
only
little
team
bit.
to get blanked.
So we got the Giants at the Cardinals.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Cardinals, Pro Football Focus does their power rankings, and they do like advanced stats and things like that. So I tend to respect their power rankings a lot more than some of these other places. So they had the Cardinals as the worst team in the NFL coming into the year. They played the Commanders fairly tough on the road. I think they ended up losing by maybe 4 or something like that. Anyway, it was a 1-score game. And then the Giants they hosted the Cowboys. It was raining when the game started, and they just got absolutely demolished. 40-0. There was this stat about no team has ever lost by 40 points and had a field goal blocked and returned for a touchdown and had a pick six and a couple other things. No one's ever done that in a season, no team. They did it all in one game. I saw that meme somewhere. So basically the worst possible performance you could imagine. And it was like Sunday night. I was looking forward to watching a decent game, and it was the Cowboys just demolished them. All right, so Giants at the Cards. I have the Giants by 2.5.
So do I.
All right. Josh has the same, 2.5. And it opened up Giants by 4, and went up to 5.5.
Oh, people really don't like the Cardinals.
Yeah.
The Cardinals put points on the board last week.
Yeah, the way I read this is the Cardinals are definitely not going to be very good.
Nope.
And the Giants were supposed to be half decent.
Playoff team last year.
Daniel Jones had just signed the contract.
Yeah.
I think you remember last week I said, he's a little comfortable because he just signed the contract, maybe not as motivated. And, well, I don't know if that was it, but they didn't play very well. So, I mean, obviously Vegas thinks they're going to rebound, and they're going to win by close to a touchdown on the road. So you either think well, I don't know. I'm not going to overanalyze this one. These two teams, one is supposed to be really bad, and the other one was really bad week one. So take your pick on that one.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We have 5 left. So Jets at the Cowboys. This is maybe one of the most polarizing games of the week. So I have the Cowboys favored by 8.
I have them by 10.
All right. So I have 8. Josh has Cowboys by 10. And it is, so it started at 8.5, and it is most consistently 9. So that's 3 ties in 1 week. That's
4.
Is it 4?
Yeah.
Oh, that's 4. Whoa.
Yeah.
All right, so we tie that one. So right now it's 6-2 with 4 ties.
Yeah.
And obviously, the line opens and then it moves, and so this isn't an exact science by any means, but yeah. So there you have it, 6-2 with 4 ties at this point. So I said this is one of the most polarizing games. I mean, the Jets defense is very good. The Cowboys defense is very good. Zach Wilson played okay, but the Bills weren't game planning for Zach Wilson. So it'll be interesting to see if he can have some success against a good defense and keep them in the game. And then on the flip side, the Cowboys were ahead by so much so fast, they didn't really have to do much.
It never stopped, though. Like, they just kept going.
Yeah. So, the biggest thing I think is watching Zach Wilson try to play against the Bills have a good defense, but the Cowboys are game planning for Zach Wilson, right? So
That's right.
You'd think that he's going to struggle just because he hasn't been very good in the NFL. And then, the Jets coming off a very emotional win, like can their defense, stay the course? I don't think anyone's going to argue that they have one of the best defenses in the NFL. Can they kind of shut down the Cowboys a little bit, keep it close, and see if they can squeak out a victory on the road? I feel like I'm saying this a lot this week. I don't really, I feel like either one of those situations could happen.
I just feel like the Jets are going to get destroyed. And it is a very visceral reaction to what the Cowboys did in week 1, but I don't think it's going to go well. That defense, can that defense score like 25 points? Has that ever happened? Has the defense ever outscored the probably has actually, but
I'm sure it has.
Yeah. The Cowboys defense may outscore the Jets offense. Maybe that's probably what's going to happen. We'll see.
And we didn't even really talk at all about the Rodgers injury. Nope. So he played, obviously there's memes all over the place when something goofy like that happens. Like Rodgers Jets career, 8:15 p.m. to 8:26 p.m. or whatever. And then everyone's putting Tom Brady on a Jets uniform and saying, okay.
Oh my God, can you imagine if he came back and won a Super Bowl with the Jets?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, Rodgers got, $70 million guaranteed? They probably don't have the money to do it. Although Brady would take less.
Do it for free, man. Just play football at this point.
He's one of those guys who would take less to try to win rather than just take the money.
Just get him a big endorsement deal in New York somewhere. It'll be fine.
My biggest question is, I believe he's 40 years old. So, you tear your Achilles. It's kind of like the old man injury that happens a lot in basketball when guys who are out of shape try to play when they're too old. They just tear their Achilles jumping or moving. It'd be interesting to see if he wants to come back and give it another go after that happened. And then the other thing that I didn't know until this happened was MetLife Stadium has this older field turf,
Yeah,
which
there are a lot
is
of complaints about that.
definitely not as good as some of the other field turfs. I just don't understand how there's NFL stadiums that aren't natural grass that don't have the best quality turf. That seems like something they could spend some money on and just swap it out so that fewer people get hurt. But what do I know? Okay, let's move on. So you have the Washington Commanders at the Denver Broncos. What do you got for this?
I have the Commanders by 2.
All right,
Minus
Josh
2,
has
yeah.
the Commanders by 2, and I have the Broncos by 3.5.
A lot of Sean Payton love right now.
And I think it was 3.5. Yeah, it opened at 3.5, and it's staying at 3.5 all the way across the board. So this is a little odd, but I think last week I guessed Broncos 3.5, and it was 3.5, and this week I guessed Broncos 3.5.
They
and
home-
it's
are they home
3.5.
also?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe
I like
they're just
them.
always going to be 3.5. I think this line makes sense. The Broncos lost by a point. The Commanders beat the Cardinals at home. The Broncos are probably a little bit better than the Commanders. I think it's a fair line.
You got Washington traveling almost cross country. You've got a higher, they got the elevation. I was talking about the elevation having an impact in Denver.
Right.
But I think that team's garbage.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't watch much of it. Russell Wilson obviously must have been kind of underwhelming.
Yeah.
You'd think Sean Payton is known as one of the best play callers out there.
Yeah.
You'd think he could, design some plays or if I'll put it this way, if anyone can revive Russell Wilson as a head coach, it's probably him or maybe Andy Reid. But I don't know. They didn't look great in week 1. Granted, they were ahead by 6, like mid fourth quarter, and the Raiders drove down and scored, and that's kind of what it ended up. But I don't know. I
don't like that team. We'll see. We'll see how it shakes out. But I think Washington is going to win.
Yeah, I just don't know how you trust the Broncos at this point.
That's
like
right.
You need to see something before you start trusting Russell Wilson still being able to perform at a high level.
Right.
Because he hasn't done it in quite a while. There could be an argument there. I mean, the Broncos have a pretty solid defense too. I mean, maybe they just ride the defense and run the ball, but I think those are some of the things to watch on that game. Let's move on. So we got Dolphins at the Patriots. So we have 3 games left here. Dolphins at the Patriots. I think this is the Sunday night game, and there's actually 2 Monday night games this week, which is kind of cool. And
they did that? Okay.
And they're overlapping. I think they start an hour apart.
Oh, that's kind of badass.
Which, I don't know. I guess the first game kind of gets to halftime, and then the second game starts, so you can watch that during halftime, and then kind of pick after that. But okay, we got Dolphins at the Patriots. So I have the Patriots by 1.5. What do you got?
I got Pats by 3 or minus 3.
All right. Pats by 3. What do we got here? I think, let me think. I think the Dolphins are actually favored. It opened at Dolphins minus 2, and it went up to 3. So the Dolphins are favored by 3.
Okay.
So I'm gonna get that one. We both had the Patriots, so I'm closer. I don't know. The Chargers are getting more love than we felt they deserved. The Dolphins are getting more love than we felt they deserved.
Mike McDaniel and that offense, they love it.
Maybe the Dolphins-Chargers is going to be the AFC Championship game. Vegas knows it. They knew those teams were both really good. They played a close game, and they're just giving them all the love. I don't know. The Dolphins have been more consistent. The Patriots played pretty well at the Eagles. I don't know that that's a real fair line. I feel that it just seems like the Patriots at home should be getting a little more love, but we'll see. We'll see what happens there.
It should be a good game.
Yeah,
that would be a game to watch for sure. That would definitely be a game to watch.
Yeah, I think that's why they put it on Sunday night so everybody can pop their popcorn and get their sodas and sit on the couch. All right, 2 left. Saints at the Panthers. What do you got?
I have the Saints minus 4.
All right, Josh has Saints -4. I have the Saints by 5.5. I think you're gonna get this one. It opened at Saints 2.5, and it went up to 3. So Saints by a field goal. Josh is closer. He's gonna get that one. Panthers, I just probably aren't going to be very good. Bryce Young's, a rookie. No. I like I said, I didn't watch any of this game. I don't know how he did, but I think I said Saints -5.5. It's 3. That's fairly close. It's a fair line, I guess. Do you take the home dog or do you take the Saints as probably clearly a better team at this point? I don't know. I think it's fair. Moving on. Last game. We got the Browns at the Steelers. This is another kind of polarizing game, I would say, based on week 1 performance. So I have the Steelers by 2. What do you got?
Browns -7.
Whoa.
Browns on the road winning by more than a touchdown.
Browns 7. Okay. So I think we're both pretty far off in opposite directions on this, if I remember right. So it opened as the Steelers by 1.
Wow.
And it jumped to the Browns by 2.5.
Wow.
All right. Get out your calculator here. This is going to be a tough one to figure out. So I'm off.
Closer.
I'm off by 4.5, and you're off by 4.5.
Am I? Is that 4.5? It is 4.5.
We're both off by 4.5.
That's right.
All right. So it opened at what I guessed, and then it moved. And I don't know. Wow, that is crazy. 5 ties? That's going to be a record. That isn't going to happen again. I'll just say that. So the Steelers opened as a favorite. I think Deontay Johnson is hurt. He's not going to play. I could be wrong on that. Freiermuth got hurt. The Steelers tight end got hurt as well. I don't know if he's going to play or not. So the Browns destroyed the Bengals.
Mm-hmm.
Watson's playing the guitar.
Yeah.
After he scored a touchdown. The Steelers got destroyed by the 49ers at home. I don't know. Obviously, if you're just saying who did really well and who did really bad, the Browns are the better team. But this is again the overreaction from week 1 to week 2. The Steelers, I think, is the right side here, even though the line is weird. I really thought Vegas would. Well, they did favor the Steelers. People must like the Browns a lot, which is why the line moved. I don't know. I think this is a very standard Pittsburgh at home is going to rebound. Mike Tomlin. I mean, they can't really play much worse than they did, but we'll see.
I don't like the Browns, and I like the Steelers, but I picked the Browns, I guess, reacting to week 1, and the Steelers not looking so hot. I think the questions about their quarterback with the Steelers are still there, and if you don't have a quarterback, you can't win in this league. So,
yeah,
the Browns
I think
seem to have a functioning one.
Pickett played pretty well the last half of last year. I think
people really liked him.
They won I don't know what it was. Don't quote me. 4 of their last 5 or something like that. They got to
almost the playoffs.
500. 8-1 or something like that.
Yeah, they staved off the losing seasons. What is it? Tomlin has not had a losing season in 15 years.
Yeah, I think something like that. And if you're going to judge every team by how they play against the 49ers or every offense by how they play against the 49ers defense, that's not going to be a very good test because the 49ers defense is really good.
Complete team.
But we'll see. So those are our hot takes on week 2. We'll see how much of an overreaction there was from week 1 to week 2. That's kind of the big thing here. Josh, you got any parting words of wisdom?
We'll just try and get it right next week.
All right. Go Vikings!